conclusion, though, was maybe because he kind of already understood what you were saying as the meaning of life.
Yes.
And usually when you have an idea or concept, that's when you ask other people what they think, because you want to kind of, compare it to yours. And also that maybe that's why he's the one that died, while the other two characters still have to go on to find their meanings.
Because he already knows.
More or less.
In a lot of ways, Jordan is exactly, he's not pretending to be anything than what he is. He's organically pure. So he's extremely honest, not just with other people, but with himself to who he is. And he's not ashamed of it.
I just thought it was interesting to reflect that from the character and what you were actively saying while I was going through, like, why is this? And I'm like, because it's clear that he has his own understanding of his existence.
And I had to come to terms with that while I was filming. That was a big thing. I'm like, would I be okay with my partner was like fucking somebody else? I don't, like, in real life, both Gregg and I were like super monogamous people, so it was something that I would have a problem with. But it was also, and looking at that, not just as an actor, but as a person, I grew from understanding that, from being able to ask those questions. When I had myself, like I was saying, a strict point of view of what I think the world is to me, doesn't mean it's like that to everybody else. And that doesn't make it bad or not okay. That's okay too.
And then I just had a quick note on Donnie Darko, actually. I just wanted to hear your take, because I've sat and thought about I don't think that, the ending is clear. I think that it leaves so much up to interpretation that you can have 5 versions of what that movie is.
And all of them are right.
Yeah.
That's true.
I was just interested in, your personal take. I know you mentioned that you saw him more as like a guardian angel, but do you see him as more of a supernatural entity or a figment of imagination for the main character?
Well, in the sense, so right after we did it, Rich and I had spoken at length about the philosophy of time travel that ended up on the director's cut DVD, but didn't exist before that. So I'd have a lot of questions that I would ask Richard about the film. Can you say that one more time, just because there's a specific response I had to that.
Just about whether he's more of a supernatural.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Part of his brain, because I thought when he's very kind of deranged from the footsteps and just the visions he's having and what he's going through, it could be a time travel concept, but he could also be schizophrenic.
It could be very much those things. So what's interesting is in the theatrical cut, he's on medication, so you could say that he could be hallucinating. But in the director's cut, what you find out is he's actually, which is in the script, he's taking placebos. So he's not on medication. That's not real medication. So he's not hallucinating from medication. So then it's the idea, well, my response to it, which I don't mean to be strange, but it's both of those things. He's supernatural and he's not supernatural. He's a figment of the imagination, but he knows him through his sister, because his sister's boyfriend, but he's also from another reality, time traveling back and forth. So if Donnie is the manipulated living, he's being manipulated by Frank. Frank is the manipulated dead. So he died in the alternate reality, manipulating Donnie. But I wanted to take it a step further, at least for me on a personal level. And I felt that what was important, because what I think that when you first see the movie, he's just like, oh, fuck Christina Applegate. And then right? It's funny. But then he goes and he sees Gretchen, you're like, oh, sit next to the boy you think's the cutest, and she sits next to Donnie. Then later on he walks her home, he's like, you wanna go? Go with me? It's like, go where? And it's like, what we're watching is someone innocently trying to fall in love with hormones course through their body, but they're wanting to truly connect with somebody. Not just on a physical level. Because when he tries to kiss her, she says, no, I want it the first moment to be special. And he's like, well, this isn't special. She looks over and you have that smoking jogger, who's actually the FAA guy, who's a spy, who's at the party. You see him keep popping up throughout the film, because he's actually spying on Donnie. He wants to know what Donnie is, because that jet engine does not come from the year 1988. And let me see if I'm getting so kind of going around in circles. But I think, for me, I thought the most beautiful thing about the movie is we actually watched Donnie fall in love. So when they're doing the report, saying, well, we invented this machine that put it on their eyes, and they watch beautiful images all the time, what that could do for them. You know, you see all these beautiful images while they're sleeping. And then the teacher says, you ever think that maybe darkness might be a part of their natural development? And then the bully's like, didn't your dad, like, stab your mom? And she runs out, and she's so upset. And when Donnie runs to her, the only thing that he cares about is that she's okay. That's all he cares about. So he runs up to her, and he asks if she's okay. And what does she do? She kisses him deeply. And that moment makes me weep, because that to me is love. That's special. Because he cared about her, how she felt, how she was doing. It wasn't about fucking, it wasn't about sex, it wasn't about any of those things. It was about her heart, her mind, her spirit, her well-being. And so Donnie discovers love. And when he goes to the Halloween party and he goes upstairs, and you know something happens. I'm gonna say they lost their virginity. They come down and they're holding hands. So now he went and he had sex. But did he have sex? It wasn't the sex he wanted to have Christina Applegate. He made love to Gretchen. And he came down for the boy who did not want to be in his room when that jet engine fell. For the boy who does not want to die. Realizing that I ran over his girlfriend. And his family and the whole world and the whole universe is going to die unless he gives his life. Something he never wanted to do in that movie. So where that self-sacrifice comes from is it comes from love. And I think that that's beautiful, and I think that's deep. And I think that truly in the end of the movie that's what it's about. And I choose as an actor and as, you know, as Jimmy, as a person, to believe that that's what Frank was, you know, because Frank was with his girl, with his sister, and Frank loved, you know, his sister. So Frank was not only his guardian angel, but helping to guide him to find true love. And when he finds true love, then he knows the meaning and the worth of the world, of life. And only then is he willing to sacrifice himself to save everybody that he loves. And then he realizes he doesn't just love Gretchen and his family, but he loves the world. He's going to save everybody. Which also takes us back to like when he's walking her home and she says, "So Donnie Darko, what kind of name is that? You think you're some kind of superhero or something?" And he kind of gets that look in his face. He's like, "What makes you think I'm not?" And that kind of sorts it out for me. Like, you know, I'm helping him to be that superhero.
And this answer right here is proof that the rabbit is the center of Donnie Darko.
Yeah,
everything else around the rabbit is window dressing.
I'm a hopeless romantic when it comes to stuff like that. So, you know, it was like Frank helping Donnie to realize love, whether it's so here's where it's going to get a little crazy. It is a figment of his imagination, but it's also real from a different dimension. And when I came up with that, what I realized, because it is so open-ended, that I wasn't wrong either in thinking that. But that's where really the root of my motivations as an actor, as Jimmy and as portraying Frank came from, was to teach him to love. Well, sorry, I hope I